All right, guys, Mr. Butler again, math teacher. We just did the two last lessons with me, and we're moving forward. So before we get started on our next piece, which is converse, inverse, and biconditional statements, okay, we're going to do a little review. All right, we'll always start with review. So our review today is our puzzle piece review. Okay, that's what we started with last time, right? Taking a conditional statement, which we know is an if-then statement, okay, and breaking it down into its pieces. And we know 6 so far, okay, 6 pieces. So we're going to do that real quick with this statement. If I eat, then I am full, okay, and then we'll move on to the next part, all right? And you will see in this part that breaking it down into your 6 parts makes your life a lot easier in the next step, all right? So we'll start with our if, right? That is our first part, if. It's always just if, okay? Next we have our P, which is also our hypothesis, right? P, hypothesis, okay? Our P is I eat, right? If I eat. Our nice arrow, which is our then, okay? Always comes after the hypothesis. And finally our nice Q, which is my I am full. Okay, those are the simple ones. If, hypothesis, if I eat, then, little arrow, then, conclusion, I am full. All right, so remember that. Now, our last 2 pieces are our negated P and our negated Q, right? So, if you remember, negation, to negate means to make it the opposite, flip it on its head, right? So, if our normal P, our normal hypothesis, is I eat, then our negated P, the opposite of that, will be I don't eat. Okay? Then, of course, we have our negated conclusion, right? So our normal conclusion is I am full. So our negated conclusion is the opposite. I am not full. Okay? So now you have your 6 pieces. All right? This is where your life gets a lot easier. This was the hard part. Okay? So, when you are trying to put together your converse statement, your inverse statement, and your biconditional statement, all you need is to look at these 6 pieces, pull out your puzzle pieces, and stick them in where they go. All right? I'm going to show you how to do this right now. All right? So, our conditional statement, right, the thing we started with, is shorthanded like this. P to Q, right? Pick out our puzzle pieces. Always start with if. It's never shown, but always start with it, right? If P, where's P? Hypothesis, I eat. Arrow, then Q, right? Conclusion, I am full. All right? There is your conditional statement. That's the beginning, the first one. Now, we move on to our other statements. We have our converse statement. Our converse statement, right? Our converse statement is the switch, the switcheroo, right? You start with your conclusion, move to your hypothesis, right? So we go from Q to P. Okay? Now, if you want to remember it as the switcheroo, you can. I think it's pretty hard. These guys, these little drawings, make your life really easy. So we know that converse is our switch, our Q to P. So let's put it together. First, we have to find our Q, right? Or rather, first we have to start with if. We always start with if. Okay? It's never shown, but we always start with it. If. Part 1. Then our Q, right? Our little picture Q makes it easy. Q is over here. We already labeled it, our conclusion, right? Q for conclusion. I am full. We got our nice arrow here. Find your piece. Arrow. Then. And finally our P, right? Or our hypothesis. We got it up here. We already labeled it. I.e. okay? Now, sometimes you will run into, like you did here, a statement that doesn't make sense, okay? We'll talk about that later. If it doesn't make sense when it's flipped around or something, don't worry about it, right? This one makes sense. If I eat, then I am full, right? But the opposite doesn't. If I am full, then I eat. Why would you eat if you were full? Don't worry about it yet. We'll talk about it later, okay? So that is your converse, your Q to P, right? You flip it around. Next, we have our inverse. Okay? Now the inverse is the negation, right, of the conditional statement, the original statement. It is making it opposite. If you want to remember it like that, you can. I think it's hard. Here's your picture, right? Squiggly P to squiggly Q. All right? Squiggly P to squiggly Q, right? Negation, right? You're making them the opposite. So, otherwise, we would have to figure this out on our own, but we've already labeled this. We've already done all our work. We found our pieces, okay? That made our life easy. So all we have to do now is find our pieces. Here's our squiggly P. Where do we find that? Boom, right here. I don't eat. Okay? And guys, I forgot to say the if, all right? It's never shown, but it's always there. All right? Never shown, but it's always there. Right? Then we have our arrow line. Where's that? Let's find it in our pieces. Oh, boom, right here. Then. Okay, if I don't eat, then. And finally, we have our negated Q, our negated conclusion, or our squiggly Q. Okay, let's find it. Boom, right here at the bottom. I am not full. Okay, so now we have our original conditional statement up here, right? P to Q. We have our converse statement, the switcheroo, Q to P. All right, we have our inverse statement, our negation, squiggly P to squiggly Q, or negated hypothesis to negated conclusion. And finally, we have our biconditional statement.